I've messed up in life, so many things. I can't even count. Saying I'm the chief of sinners. That's me. You're looking at me. I'm the chief of sinners. But welcome back, everybody, to Being Transfigured. My name is Sharon. Thank you for stopping by. If you're new, welcome back. Welcome to this channel, guys. Today, this video is a very important video that I need to get out. I'm going to try and make it short and sweet because I have a tendency of over-explaining myself, but I'm going to try and make this as short and concise as possible. This video is coming from a couple of dreams that I had. This is basically a message for married couples in the Christian social media circle niche. This is what I am sensing and seeing in the spirit. There has been a rise of a lot of couples that are Christian that are coming on the scene that either have not been married long enough, or that have been married kind of like under 10 years, or even just married, and they're coming online, sharing about their marriage and sharing about what God's done in their marriage, sharing their life on social media, which is great. This is great. I'm not like disputing that. However, I really do believe, from what I've seen, what the Lord has shown me in my dreams, that the enemy is going to come and try every tactic to derail you and to bring embarrassment to your marriage. And this is through either the men falling into lust or having affairs. This is twice I've dreamt of two couples that are in that kind of Christian sphere. And there were actually two friends, like I think in real life. I just follow these couples, but there's two friends that I dreamt of, like on separate occasions, where the husband, one of them was in a kind of like affair, where the girl had just given birth and was having an affair. And then the other one was a guy who was kind of trying to, he was trying to talk to one of another girl, but the girl was represented as me, but I was in the dream to kind of have a feel of what the girl was feeling. It wasn't about me. So there is going to be a strong spirit of lust that's going to come over the husbands. I'm going to say the husbands because that's who I saw who was in lust and who were caught in these predicaments. And if you are a man watching this, I really want you to take this seriously. Do not get yourself in any situation that's going to potentially make you slip, because it's not just you that is going to bring shame on. It is your whole family. And in one of the other dreams where the husband was having an affair, the woman had just given birth, and she was obviously going through postpartum because I think she must have found out that her husband was having an affair, and she unalived the baby. And she just looked like she was out of it. She was just going through a very bad mental breakdown. And I think finding out that her husband was having an affair just broke her. So this is another thing with men. If you find yourself, like, I know things can be a bit difficult when you are a first-time dad and you don't know what to do. Your wife is not the same person, and you think that the first thing to do, or the easiest thing to do, is to find another woman to talk to or to hold, is the answer. But that's not the answer, because think twice before you do that, because you don't know what kind of snowball effect that might have with you doing that. And in all seriousness, it is a sin. It's a sin to God. I will read a few verses about that and about lust. It's one of those sins, especially if you're married. You need to run away from that sin. You need to run away from it. And if you feel like that, you need to speak to somebody else about it. Be honest about how you're feeling. Be honest about your thoughts that you're having, especially if you feel like you can't get them under control. And also women, and it's a time for us to pray for our men, because sometimes if it's something that they've been struggling with way before you're married, there could be a chance sometimes where the enemy will come and present an opportunity, and it will make the opportunity seem like it's a valid reason for him to step out. But according to God's laws, there's no valid reason to step out in any way, shape, or form. If you call yourself a Christian and you are saved, There is no reason for you to do that. And I know that, things can get hard, mistakes happen, but don't wallow in that mistake. If you find yourself, if you fall you know into mud, don't roll around in it, don't enjoy it. You need to have that desire to think like, no, this is not what I want, this is not what God wants for me. So I'm just coming here to say, be warned, be careful, especially the men, the Christian men that have women that have just sort of given birth, that have young babies, where you feel like maybe you're not getting enough attention, where you feel like your needs might be put to the side. Be very careful of the spirit of lust, because that is when it's going to come and try creep in, when you feel like, oh, I don't know what else to do, and it's going to seem like a great opportunity. You may think, oh, maybe just a little bit, I'm not going to get caught. But do not fall for the lie of the enemy. This is a time for you. If you're a man watching this is a time for you to pray for self-control. It's not a time to blame your wife. It's a time for you to pray for self-control. And even for us women, it's a time for us to be honest. When you have a young child, it's a time for you to be honest and say, like, this is how I'm feeling. I love you, but I just can't do this right now for whatever reason, especially if you've just given birth. I think you get given like about 8 weeks or something like that before you can actually have intercourse. Be honest, and talk about your feelings with each other. Don't hide these things. You have to cultivate that friendship from the get-go. Okay. And I think that this is very serious, because if a person that's on social media, or a preacher or pastor falls, it then gives the people that are looking to Christianity a kind of a leg to stand on. Like, they'll start saying, oh, look at Christians, oh, they're just as bad as us, blah. When we do that, when we fall, they don't understand that we are just human and we fall as well. It gives people ammunition to say, yeah, this is why I'm not going to be a Christian. So before you do these things, or whenever you're going about your day, you have to think, how am I representing Christ? Am I representing Christ well? And this is the thing. This is a question I always ask myself. And I think sometimes I'm probably too hard on myself, but I always ask myself, am I representing Christ well in this situation? And I want to say this. The reason why I know that this is something very serious, because when I first got born again, I was dreaming a lot about pastors. Certain pastors that I knew, I would dream of them coming on to me and, basically trying it on with me. And I'm like, what is going on? What's your problem? Why am I seeing this? And it used to frustrate me, and I didn't understand it. And at that time, it was the pastor of the church that I was going to. Basically, it was around the time just before the things about the Hillsongs came out and about John Gray came out, because the church that I would see, it would look like our church, but it was a bigger church. So it didn't look like our church. It was like a mega church, but I didn't go to a mega church. So that's what I didn't understand. I was like, okay, so why is this preacher in a mega church? But then the preachers that fell and were caught in that kind of act were preachers from a mega church. So then when that happened with the John Gray and the Hillsongs, then the Lord reminded me and said, go look at your dreams. And then I looked at the dreams and then looked at the descriptions of the buildings, and I'm like, oh wow, yes, this is it. That's what you were telling me. So at that time, God was still kind of training me for me to learn how He speaks to me. So when the things happened, I knew that it was Him. He told me, like, I'm showing you these things, so when they happen, you know that it was me that spoke to you. So right now, this is the exact same thing that's happening, where He's showing me people in the social media sphere with young children. So it may not be those particular people that He showed me, but it is for a certain group of people, which is the Christian social media marriage kind of couple influencers, whatever you want to call them. So we are not exempt. Yeah, just because you're Christian doesn't mean that you're exempt from being tempted. If you are feeling these feelings and you start feeling kind of like resentment towards your partner, Yeah, because she's in this new phase of motherhood. Please speak to her. Speak to your partner. If you don't have anyone, if you feel like you can't speak to each other, find an accountability marriage person, people that are married, that have been married a bit longer than you. Find them, speak to them, be honest with how you're feeling, because I can guarantee you a lot of marriages have probably gone through something similar to that. So because the couples that I saw, they were kind of like newly, not newly married, but maybe like under 7 years, I'd say, married. So you are still in a vulnerable state, and especially if you're sharing your life on social media, there is going to be like a bigger attack on you, on your marriage. And so be prayerful, be vigilant, be in your word, and also be take away any resentment. Make sure there is nothing in you that is um displeasing to God. Always go to God and say, God, search my heart and see if there's anything that is not pleasing to you. Because if there's any open door, like unforgiveness, resentments, that bitterness, um then that is a little doorway where the enemy can be like, oh, there's a little crack there. Let me get in. Let me send this little baddie over your way and see how you're going to react. And let me just read a few verses to you. Flee from lust. Flee, I mean, literally run away. Run away. So Hebrews 13:4 says, give honor to marriage and remain faithful to one another in marriage. God will surely judge people who are immoral and those who commit adultery. Matthew 5:27-29. You have heard the commandment that says you must not commit adultery. But I say, anyone who even looks at a woman with lust has already committed adultery with her in his heart. So if your eye, even your good eye, causes you to lust, gouge it out and throw it away. It is better for you to lose one part of your body than for your whole body to be thrown into hell. Colossians 3:5-10. So put to death the sinful earthly things lurking within you. Have nothing to do with sexual immorality, impurity, lust, and evil desires. Don't be greedy, for a greedy person is an idolater, worshipping the things of this world. Because of these sins, the anger of God is coming. You used to do these things when your life was still a part of this world, but now is the time to get rid of anger, rage, malicious behavior, slander, and dirty language. Don't lie to each other, for you have stripped off your old sinful nature and all its wicked deeds. Put on your new nature and be renewed, and as you learn to know your Creator and become like Him. So, as you put on your new nature and know your Creator and become like Him, there is no space for lust and these evil desires to fester in your heart. And even if it does come, I am not entertaining that. I am not entertaining that at all, because I want to honor my marriage and I want to honor God above all. So when you think like, is God going to be pleased with this? Then you're not going to do a lot of things. There's a lot of things we will not do. If we truly love God and we truly love our spouse, there's things that we will not do. And like I said to you, there are some people that have made mistakes. There's sometimes where you've made a mistake, let's say if you're younger, or just go to God. If that's you, okay, I don't want this video is not about condemning, but if that's you and you have sort of stepped out of your marriage, you have lusted over another woman, this is the time for you to go to God. Go to God and say, Lord, that you see what I've done. I really need you to forgive me. I'm asking for your forgiveness. I made a mistake. I will not do it again. I really need your forgiveness. Help me figure out how to deal with this thing, with this issue. God is so good, man. Honestly, God is so gracious. Like, even though he says these things and they're very harsh truths, but he's still a God that loves us and he wants us to run to him. When you've made that mistake, or if you've made that mistake, run to God, run straight to him, and because he's the one that's going to help you rectify the mess. He's going to turn that mess into a message. He's a God. He's not a God that leaves you like in condemnation. There's no condemnation for those that are in Christ Jesus. But if you don't confess those sins, if you don't confess it to him, if you don't confess it to the people he's called you to confess to, then that's when the condemnation comes. The enemy will start condemning you, and making you think like you're a bad person. You're this. How could you do that? Oh, you're such a bad husband. You're such a bad wife. But when you confess it and just say, put your hands up and say, I was wrong, and not try and make any excuse like, oh, well, she wasn't giving it to me. Oh, he did this. Oh, because this. Don't make an excuse. You did wrong. You did wrong. Own up. Be a big girl. Be a big boy. Go to God, because if you go to God first, He will make that load easier. Trust me, there's so many things that I've messed up in life. So many things. I can't even count. Yeah, there's certain things that some things I actually don't even remember because he's literally taken away my sin. Yeah, to the point sometimes I don't remember certain things until someone may say, "Oh, do you remember this?" I'm like, "Did I do that? What's up me?" And then I kind of remember, like, "Oh yes." But even when I do remember it, there's no shame because He's washed me clean. He's cleansed me from all that unrighteousness. So I'm not talking here as someone that's condemning and someone who's perfect. I have done so much, like so much. Like, like it says in the Bible, I think, where is it Paul saying, I'm the chief of sinners. That's me. You're looking at me. I'm the chief of sinners. But I thank God that I serve a mighty God who is forgiving, who is loving, who welcomes me into His arms. Because another thing in that dream, it was two people, it was two friends that kind of went to the same thing. So just be wary as well who you're hanging around with. If you know your friend is doing that kind of stuff, speak to them, but don't encourage them in what they're doing, because these things can manifest in your life too. So if your friend is living in sin, don't be surprised. Don't be surprised when you start dealing with these same things that you may not have dealt with. Okay, um, and especially if you're not challenging them on the wrong that they're doing. So if you're not challenging on the wrong, that means you're in agreement with what they're doing. So don't be surprised then when your relationship or marriage starts experiencing the same kind of difficulties. But I just want to encourage you to be prayerful. Pray for those that are married that you know. Pray if you know they're having challenges. Pray for every married couple. If you dream of people, pray for them. Pray for them because you don't know what they might be going through.